His reasons are bullshit, but he put in a motion to dismiss the case, and Judge McAfee dismissed it. So it is done. It is over.
Folks, you joined me in conversation with Allison Gill. You know your lover. Breakdown with Allison Gill. If you have not subscribed, you must. Also, Mueller, She Wrote. Also, the Daily Beans podcast. Also, now she does these viral videos for Midas Touch. Also, she does not sleep, and there's only one of her. I guarantee you she has not cloned herself. And Allison taught me that I've been saying Fanny. I heard Fanny. I've been saying Fanny, but it is Fanny. It's Fanny Willis. And, we'll start with the depressing news quick, but then we're going to get to some better news. And the reason why I brought Allison on is because I knew I could go back and forth with someone because we expected today. And for those who haven't followed today's news, let's take it back a step further. I said, going back to the Trump first administration, this man will never go to jail. Never, ever, never, ever, ever, ever. Why? This is America. Richard Nixon didn't go to jail. Richard Nixon got pardoned and then wrote books and then traveled the world and got speaking engagements. He's a powerful, wealthy white man who was president of the United States of America and is president again. And the institution will do anything and everything to make sure he never steps foot in jail, despite being a convicted criminal, despite inciting a violent insurrection, despite being held liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll, despite being a fraudster, despite literally stealing classified documents from the White House and storing them in the shitter in Mar-a-Lago and being told repeatedly by the FBI, hey, can you please return these files? And he goes, what files, huh? What? And despite me, Allison, and everyone else literally hearing the phone call where he calls then Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and asks him for the exact number of votes to give him Georgia in the 2020 election that he got just his ass kicked by Joe Biden. So today's news comes out, surprise, surprise. Shockingly, the new prosecutor, who's not Fannie Willis, who's a Trump reek, comes in and dismisses the case, even though literally the entire world has heard the tape that Brad Raffensperger recorded of Donald Trump asking him for the exact number of votes. I knew this would happen. Allison, you knew this would happen as well, correct?
Right. I saw this coming when originally Fannie Willis, one of the electors that was indicted along with the 17 other people, including Donald Trump, was a guy named Burt Jones, and he was a senator, a Georgia senator, but he also was one of the fraudulent electors that signed his name to a false document. And she was recused from prosecuting him because she had set up a fundraiser party for his Senate opponent, his state Senate opponent. And so that was a conflict of interest. So she was pulled off the case and they had to find someone else to prosecute it. So they have this council of prosecutors in Georgia. It's headed up by a Republican named Pete Scandalakis. Scandal is right in his name.
I love it.
Excuse me. And he said, oh, I'll find somebody. And then he kind of pretended to find somebody, but then didn't, said I couldn't find anybody. So I'm going to take it over myself, right? Like, did he even ask? I'm sure there were prosecutors in Cobb County or Coffee County that would have gladly taken the case. I don't think he even asked anybody. I would like a FOIA on his email communications with those
Absolutely.
district attorneys. District's attorney? I don't know how you say it. But he at the last minute, took the case himself because there's a deadline by which you have to reassign the case of Burt Jones. Took it himself and then killed it. And that was a while ago. And I was like, uh-oh, because if Fannie Willis gets disqualified, I guarantee you Pete Scandalakis is going to wait until the last possible minute, take it for himself, and then kill the whole case. And that's exactly what happened today. He put in a motion to dismiss. His reasons are bullshit, but he put in a motion to dismiss the case, and Judge McAfee dismissed it. So it is done, it is over, and it is gone. And we still have other state cases that have been revived, and we'll talk about that. But this dismissal of this case should come to a surprise as no one. to no one.
Exactly. It's a gut punch, folks. I think it's okay to be furious. It's okay to be disgusted. It's okay to shake your head. It's okay to say that, God, look how corrupt these people are. But that's exactly it. It is a reflection of the corruption, the reflection of the abuse of power, the reflection of how low they will go. That literally you have any analogy, the smoking gun, the audio tape, literally, and still this mother effer keeps failing up. And you could sit there and be like Grandpa Simpson and shake your fist against the heavens and rage against the winds. That's perfectly fine. But there are other ways I think that we can and will weaken Trumpicans, Republicans, Magicans. I don't give a shit what they call them. Donald Trump. And we see, if you will, you want to talk about the Trump?
Did you
Please.
see his? Did you? He's like, hey, there's a great new name for Trump Republicans. It's Trupublicans. And I immediately thought of, because I'm a huge nerd, I was like, are they Vulcan? Because that's how Vulcan names are. T'Pau, T'Pring. They have a T in front of them. T'Pol. And so I was actually thinking of taking some Vulcans like T'Pau, T'Pring, and T'Pol and putting
It'd be hilarious.
an ear bandage on them to make them Trupublicans.
You should go like this: live long and plunder. Yeah, just
long
put up,
and
put up.
crime.
That'd be hilarious. I'm not, we're not making this up. If you saw me with Danielle, that's literally what he posted, and then his Tweedledee sum is like, "What about Trumpican?" I'm like, I don't give a shit. Trumpican, MAGA, Magican, whatever. You're all fraudsters and you're Bulgarians. But this is where we are. But we've also always said, for those who have watched me and Allison, that when you confront fascism, it's death through 1,000 cuts. And furthermore, about a year ago, we said they will overreach. They will overreach because they're reckless. They will overreach because they're arrogant. They will overreach because they're incompetent. They will overreach because they're cruel. And now we're seeing them overreach. And they've overreached in such a big way that I thought, Allison, I gave it a year. I said the face-eating leopards would turn on each other in a year. It's been less than a year. It's been about 10, 11 months. And I'll just because it's such a good story. Did you read about the story that came out early in the morning that the Department of Justice said in a new court filing that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, yes, they named her. It wasn't us. It was Kristi Noem who made the decision to continue with the deportation flights carrying 230 migrants to the mega prison in El Salvador, despite a federal judge's order to turn the planes around. It wasn't us. It was Kristi Noem. I thought that was.
It was interesting. And the reason they're saying Kristi Noem is because apparently Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey had put together some legal decisions to advise Kristi Noem on what to do. And the government says those are privileged, because of work product privilege, deliberative process privilege. But Emil Bovey and Todd Blanche determined that since the written order didn't mention turning the planes around, it only mentioned bringing people or not letting people be removed from the United States. And since these people had already been removed and were already in the air, that's what Emil Bovey and Todd Blanche advised Kristi Noem. Oh, we don't have to turn the planes around. He only said that with his mouth. He didn't put it in writing. And they've already left. So all we have to do is make sure not to send any more. And that's why they have now thrown her under the bus. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, because now this is all in the contempt case from Boasberg, which was all but dead when a 3-Trump panel, or a 3-judge panel with 2 Trump judges, vacated his criminal contempt order, saying, I think that there's criminal contempt here, that they violated my order to turn the planes around. But the problem is that those 2 Trump judges that voted to vacate his order, his contempt order, didn't agree on the reason why. And so the full panel en banc was like, that's not a majority. That's not a majority opinion. So we're not going to take this up, but we're going to kick it back down. And since you guys couldn't agree on a reason why, it actually goes all the way back down to Boasberg, who can now pick up contempt proceedings again. It was
And Boasberg, for those who remember, is that judge who has kept defying the Trump administration, was the one who said, "Turn that plane around," and then said, "What? Plane's already taken off. Whoopsie!" And then also, in addition, and I have to highlight this because I know it's so gutting, folks, that he keeps getting away. But I just want to, we're just going to give some receipts of the mounting death by 1,000 cuts. Did you see this piece that came out yesterday, Allison? A New York Times analysis finds errors in Trump's Supreme Court filing that calls for the National Guard in Chicago and shows that the DHS, yes, same DHS, Chrissy Noem, ooh, tough 2 days, and the DOJ lied. Could you imagine that? They lied in their emergency filing to the Supreme Court, Allison?
Yeah, it's funny. The Times sent that to me and they go, look what we found. And so then I sent them my show on Midas Touch from Sunday, where I found the same thing. I was like, these are all lies. But because remember the Marimar Martinez, Ian Santos Ruiz case, where DHS accused them of ramming into ICE vehicles and then trying to run over Border Patrol agents. And that's why somebody from CBP shot 5 shots at Marimar Martinez. And then there was 200 protesters showed up and threw bottles and rocks at the besieged federal officers. That was what they put in their Supreme Court filing to justify an emergency order to allow him to deploy the Guard to
Wow. I did not know that.
And that case just fell apart because the DOJ asked to dismiss the case because they know if they went to court, there's now video evidence showing that none of that happened. And what I said this past Sunday on my, as I was like, that was one of the foundations for their emergency bid to the Supreme Court, and that they put lies in a filing to the Supreme Court. And that is now proven. But what the New York Times did was I came out with that Sunday and talked about it on the breakdown on the Midas Touch Network. But on Monday or Tuesday, we had the videos. The judge, Ellis, released the videos of the body cam footage. I said all this without having the video evidence. But once they got the video evidence, the New York Times put together this investigation and included more than just the Marimar Martinez case, which is the crux of his Supreme Court emergency filing. But there are other things too. And the New York Times pointed out with these new videos, every single lie that was told by Greg Bovino, Customs and Border Protection, and the Department of Homeland Security in a Supreme Court filing. They presented this to the Supreme Court as though it were true, and it is now provable that it is false. And that's going to, I don't know how the Supreme Court's going to be like, that's okay, he's the president, he could lie, he's got all the power. It's going to be interesting to see how the Supreme Court, if I were them, I wouldn't touch it, and I would let the lower court ruling stand that you can't deploy or federalize the Guard if I were them. But they did ask in the Chicago case for the parties to define regular forces in the law, 12406, the law that Trump is using to deploy the National Guard, because everybody's sort of under the impression that you can't send in the National Guard unless you fail with regular forces. Trump thinks regular forces are the local, federal, and state police and municipal police, but it actually means the military. So under 12406, the president can deploy the National Guard if he sent in the regular troops, the actual military, and they failed. And since he never did that, you can't send them under 12406. And that is why the Supreme Court came back and said, hey, everybody, give us your definition of regular forces before we decide this case. That was fully briefed 9 days ago. So we might see what the Supreme Court says, but with all these new revelations, that there are just outright provable lies in the government's filing to the Supreme Court. I'd be interested to see how they handle that. They were lied to.
And folks, the lying, right? The lying to justify the cruelty. I know we kind of brush over it, but to lying to justify unleashing the National Guard and ICE to terrorize innocent communities in Chicago, lying to kidnap, and I think the words that we use are important, kidnap nearly 230 brown men, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia, in the middle of the night, kidnapping them. Some of them were going home without any due process, and then not just kidnapping them or detaining them and sending them to like a local facility, but then putting them on a plane and then giving $6 million to Bukele, the crypto bro leader of El Salvador, and then housing them in a foreign torture prison where they have said since then that they were tortured without any due process, and then maligning their character and saying that they were drug traffickers and this and that. I won't even repeat it.
In
And then,
exchange for our imprisoned MS-13 actual gang leaders.
yes, and who
That
are
was
now
part of the deal. And that's why the Trump administration did not want to go through discovery, is because they didn't want to show the world their deal with Bukele, where they dropped the charges against actual violent gang members to send them back to Bukele so that he could disappear them and keep them quiet.
So yeah, so like it's like, let's send you innocent folks. Let's get back actual violent criminals. And also, I want to tie this to the lies that because I think it should be in the news that the Trump administration has outright murdered. I'm going to use the word murdered, murdered more than 24, most likely, folks, fishermen, Venezuelan fishermen off the coast without any due process, any evidence. And the one time that they, actually had a survivor, instead of trying him and presenting him to the public and doing a press conference and saying, "Aha, we finally have a Tren de Aragua drug trafficker who has survived." Can you tell him what they did to the one survivor?
Which one? The survivor of the what?
The Venezuelan boat strikes. They
Oh,
quickly.
yeah, they just returned him to his country.
There you go. And Trinidadian, exactly. They should return them. So you would think if this is, you got the proof that these are like these drug traffickers and terrorists, you would sit there and say, aha, we've caught one. Nope, nope, nope.
Oh, they're
One
avoiding going to court because they know the truth will come out in court and they can't lie to the court. But
they
they did
can,
with the Supreme Court.
and that's what they did. So they literally repatriated this person back to their country. Bye. Don't talk about it. If you talk about it, we know where you live. And voila. So that means they have literally, literally murdered innocent people without any evidence or due process. And Donald Trump says that he can get away with it. But again, these are the world's most reckless, incompetent people. And I'm very just curious to see who they blame for the mounting failures. So just 11 hours ago, the Justice Department threw a DHS Secretary Kristi Noem under the bus. She goes, it was her. She made the decision to continue on with these deportation flights carrying Kilmar Abrego Garcia to El Salvador, not us. And then you're going to be seeing some more and more rage and ketchup bottles thrown at the wall because, Allison, I was thinking about you yesterday. Uh, and I saw when I saw the news, because I'm like, Allison probably has a smile on her face. Can you tell everyone what happened to these dead to right cases they had against James Comey and Letitia James, resulting from Donald Trump accidentally butt posting a text meant for his Attorney General Pam Bondi, where he gives her a list of all his enemies that he wants to punish for Festivus?
Well, it's interesting. Lindsay Halligan actually resolved two cases at once by being unlawfully appointed. Of course, they're going to appeal this, but I'm actually a little sad. I was smiling, but I was a little sad because I wanted this to go on longer. I wanted it to be slower and more painful. I wanted to know what Judge Nachmanoff thought of the vindictive and selective prosecution motions to dismiss. I wanted to know what he thought about the Braunston literal truth defense motion. I wanted to know what he thought about the new motion to dismiss from Jim Comey for grand jury malfeasance. Right? I wanted it all to come out. And we got quite a bit of that in some of the briefings and the arguments. We know that Lindsay Halligan said a couple of wrong on the law, wrong on the Constitution things to the grand jury. She told them the burden of proof was on the defendant, was on Jim Comey instead of the government.
She's so incompetent. She's so incompetent.
He didn't have a right to, or that they could take negative inference if he pled the Fifth or didn't testify in his own defense. Just very, very wrong on Fourth and Fifth Amendment. They didn't have a warrant. They didn't, they had the one guy who testified to the grand jury was tainted by privileged information. They actually even went outside the scope of the 2019-2020 warrant. There were supposed to be things destroyed that weren't relevant to that case, but never got destroyed. And they used that in this case without getting a fresh warrant. So they've totally violated search and seizure and tried to use fruit of the poison tree as their core evidence in this case. They did so many things wrong, and I was hoping we would get to the bottom of those before this other Judge Curry just dismissed because she was unlawfully appointed. But that's what happened. I'm waiting to see on the docket for Comey and Letitia James what the judges in those cases say now that Judge Curry has dismissed because, they had to farm it out to a different judge, right? And so I imagine there has to be some closure from these judges in this case to say, all right, everything's moot, bye. But, maybe Judge Nachmanoff will say, well, I was going to dismiss on vindictive and selective prosecution for this, 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 and this. And I was going to dismiss on grand jury malfeasance for this, 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 and this. And I was going to dismiss on tainted guy and, whatever. But I don't have to because it's dismissed, case closed. I hope he gives us a little bit more than just case closed. But I doubt he will. Now, if they rebring the charges against Letitia James, we'll see those anew. And if they try to rebring the charges against Jim Comey, the judge pretty much slammed the door on that because the statute of limitations is up. We might get those fights, but I just wish we had more. I wish we learned more about her malfeasance so that she could be sanctioned under Rule 11 and perhaps lose her license as well.
Oh, that'd be exquisite. We have seen accountability in different ways. So we've seen judges do their part. We've seen the rule of law do their part. I know it's been frustrating, especially with Fani Willis, but you also see what happens when you actually have competent judges who still have fidelity to the rule of law instead of Donald Trump. And especially once they throw sand in the gears of a fascist regime, especially a fascist regime like Allison has outlined, that is deeply incompetent and is incapable of hiding its incompetence, and it becomes public. Speaking about other
We
ways
did that. We just found that out. Sorry to interrupt. We just did that in the Abrego case. They just found out through filings in the Abrego case that there's not even a removal order on the books, so he shouldn't be in detention at all.
God, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and
he should sue him, man. God, I hope he sues him.
The guy who Sinis brought in to ask about his declaration that Costa Rica would no longer accept Abrego Garcia, and the door to Costa Rica was closed, and that's why we want to send him to Uganda, Eswatini, Uruguay, Liberia. We found out he admitted in court that he actually didn't write a lot of that declaration that he signed, and that a lawyer for the State Department wrote it, and he doesn't even really understand what the words mean that they wrote, that he signed. So he admitted that in court. And the next day, Costa Rica put out a statement, and Abrego's lawyers noticed to the court, we never closed the door. It's always been open. Mr. Abrego is welcome anytime. So the Department of State lawyer that wrote that declaration for the guy who signed it, not knowing what it meant, complete lie, total fabrication.
And it's all coming out, folks. It's all coming out because these are the world's most incompetent, ruthless, cruel people. So cruel. I just want you to sit with this before we move on, that they were perfectly fine, willing to destroy an innocent man's life, as they knew, as we all knew, that Kilmar Abrego Garcia had done nothing wrong, as he was in this country legally. A judge had already in 2019 heard the evidence, said, no, you can stay. He had married, he had kids. They picked him up because he was walking while brown.
Well, they said that they didn't say he could stay. They didn't give him status, but they administratively closed his case, which gave him status, but they do have an order that's still on file that he cannot be deported to El Salvador.
Yes, and the judge saw that and reviewed all the evidence. And furthermore, it was ICE itself way back when that admitted, folks. It admitted that, oh, this was an error. And instead of simply, what I would have done, I've said this for a while, if I was, a competent, not cruel Trump administration, I was also smart, I would say, all right, well, it's not our fault. It's an ICE person who made this mistake. I throw that ICE agent under the bus, and then voila, done. It'll be out of the news. But because they're so cruel, because it's Stephen Miller's cruelty and his arrogance and his white nationalism, that they wouldn't let it go. They wouldn't let it go. And the reason I'm spending a little bit of time on this is, look, the cruelty and the misery. This is the karma I've been waiting for. This is the karma I've been waiting for, that you fast forward like 10 months, and now it's all coming out slowly but surely, and now they're turning on each other, and now they're blaming Kristi Noem. And when it comes to the Epstein files, you see these leaks, they're going to go after Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. A small thing here that I do want to talk about, because anytime I can shit on Kash Patel, who thinks he's going to Valhalla, I take it, Allison. Did you hear about the fact, Donald Trump yesterday came out, and the Trump administration came out and said, no, we have no problem with Kash Patel. Everything is fine. 2 days ago, there was a rumor that there was some displeasure.
That's because the headline came out when Trump was in a meeting with Kash Patel. Awkward. Like, what's he going to be like?
Can you tell him?
Yeah, you're right. I don't like you. You're fired. Like, well, like, no, we're the best pals. Let's take a photo to prove them wrong. Come
Yeah,
on.
for those who haven't followed us, by 2 days ago, there was a leak, a report came out that Donald Trump was extremely displeased with Kash Patel. Not necessarily with the work that he was doing, but the fact that he was garnering bad headlines. And Donald Trump is all about bad headlines and optics. Because Kash Patel, folks, again, it all comes out. Apparently didn't just take one trip on taxpayer
18,
dollars.
18, I think we were up to.
We're up to now potentially 18 trips he's taken on a $60 million jet using taxpayer money to cavort around with his honeypot country singer girlfriend. And then after he went and took this jet to hang out with his girlfriend, then he went to a hunting lodge. And then also he's been using private security for his girlfriend. And then I also want to remind people that when I encountered Stephen Miller at Tyson's at Macy's last year, there were two black SUVs. He wasn't driving. He was in the back, and there was security. And I sat there and go, "Huh? I wonder who pays for this." I'm assuming it ain't him, but I digress. And we know Christy Nome, and I feel like Christy, especially with the mockery in South Park, and especially what I saw with the DOJ, and especially as the fact that a lot of people have now found out about it, hasn't gone away, that Christy Nome was paid $172 million of our taxpayer dollars to get two private jets for Christy Nome and her boyfriend, colleague Corey Lewandowski, as the economy is going to shit. And they're throwing great Gatsby parties. And Kash Patel, like Allison said, is 18 now. What? Yeah, 18. And then you see the Epstein files cracking. This is another way to hold them accountable. The truth, stories, scandals, making them look bad, and knowing these vindictive pieces of shit, they turn on each other. How long do you think Cash, Ham, Christie are going to last?
It's anyone's guess. Anyone's guess is as good as mine. But probably once the bad stuff comes out in court, if not sooner, to try to avoid it. Because to bring somebody in to Congress, they have to be a current employee, but not the court. So we'll see how that ends up happening. But this is what happens when you bring your case and you base your case on propaganda, lies, bigotry, incompetence. It all falls apart, right? Sic semper tyrannis, as always with tyrants, because that's what they base their stuff on, and it all falls apart in the face of the truth. Now we also have somebody leaking Whitkoff's audio
I was about to get there. Yeah,
about
take it
his
away.
discussion, and I think this is somebody who wants to blow this disastrous peace plan up. Maybe it's one of our allies that intercepted that audio, that released it. Maybe
Mhm.
it's somebody in the intelligence community that felt that this should get out, although our intelligence community tends not to leak things like that. Um, but it's going to be interesting to see who did that. And then also wanted to, when we talk about keep pounding on these certain things with the Epstein files, I know a lot of people are kind of like, why have we stopped talking about them? There's a lull right now because there's a 30-day window for Pamela Joe to release the files after the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. She has until December 20th to release the files. And if she releases or if she withholds or redacts, she has to explain every single redaction. She has to summarize what's under the stuff if she says it's classified. So there are these guardrails. If she violates any one of those rules, it triggers a lawsuit from Congress, and we'll find out from a lower court judge if she inappropriately or over redacted or withheld any documents that she wasn't supposed to withhold. And just real quick before we go back and finish talking about the Whitkoff stuff and the other things, where you base your whole life on lies, it will come tumbling down. Somebody asked who Andrew Bailey is. That is who Trump is reportedly weighing replacing Kash Patel with. Andrew Bailey is the guy that Trump brought in to babysit Bongino as the deputy FBI director.
I remember.
Like,
From Missouri?
maybe, yeah, I believe so.
Let me check. Go continue. I'll fact check that. Continue, please.
But that's who he's
Former Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, correct. When Dan Bongino went quiet as a mouse fart.
He's the deputy director, which is funny, really funny to me. And Andy McCabe, who's the former FBI deputy director, he did it by himself. you know, so he was like, "Oh, that's really interesting that they had to bring in another guy for Bongino, for a podcaster who would have no shade to podcasters. That's me, but I
I would be
couldn't.
much more comfortable. I've said this publicly. I'll say it again with Allison Gill being the head of the FBI, other than Kash Patel. That's
Thank
me.
you.
I'm sure everyone else agrees.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, everything is like you said, Waj. I know that people are upset about the Fonnie Willis case. That was never going to go anywhere as long as Scandalakis had a word, had a say in it. Um, but there are so many things that are absolutely falling apart right now between now and Christmas.
Yep.
With the Abrego case, the Boasberg contempt case, the Marimar Martinez case, the Supreme Court case, the deployment of National Guard to Chicago and Portland and DC now, that like everything is falling apart
The
because
Comey prosecution, the Letitia James prosecution, which was
Eric
very
Swalwell
important for.
has sued now. And
That
by the
was
way, that
yesterday, right? Was that
yeah,
yesterday?
and he's sued because he thinks that it's Bill Pulte unlawfully obtained all of their mortgage documents, which he did. And guess what? That case today was assigned to Judge Boasberg. So
Oh, I love it. Oh, sometimes these things work out, folks. And yeah, also with Epstein, we haven't forgotten exactly what Allison said. It's a brief lull. Don't worry. The Epstein files, we'll get to in a second. Like
But
I've said before.
if you want some more Epstein news, Jason Leopold just FOIA'd a bunch of emails about the March. Remember back in March when they put 1,000 FBI agents on
Yeah,
redacting these files?
yeah,
He just got a trove of emails about that. And my reporting from last July, where I reported there was an Excel spreadsheet and training videos training
yep.
people on how to find and redact Trump's name. There are now, Jason Leopold just released an email confirming my sources, that there were training materials. And so that's going to be a big boost to my FOIA lawsuit to get those training videos. So
And
there
not
is
just
stuff going on.
not just the training videos. Once those training videos are out, then people who don't know will be like, "Well, why were these 1,000 FBI agents asked to scrub the Epstein files? Who were they scrubbing?" The answer is Donald Trump's names. Well, what did they find out? And Allison has at least one or two of those FBI agents as whistleblowers, and I will not be surprised, Allison, if more of those FBI agents come out and whistleblow, because allegedly what we've heard or read is that they saw things, very disturbing, shocking, horrifying things. And these people, again, not the FBI agents, but MAGA and specifically Pam Bondi, are so incompetent that they all were using, thank you to Allison's reporting, the same open Excel sheet. So someone copy pasted something or took photos. We'll get to Epstein and how it's cracking. We'll talk about accountability, specifically when it comes to, because human beings are social creatures. And when it comes to face eating leopards and when it comes to pettiness and hubris and anger, it's also knowing the human condition. It's another reason why I thought it would last only a year, seeing some of these personalities, putting them in the same room. But before we get to that in a second, I had this primed, and thank you so much to Allison. That's why I love doing this with her. She went there and I was going to give her an assist. She gave me an assist. Representative Don Bacon, yesterday, Republican, now is calling for Steve Witkoff to be fired. I'm going to read his tweet. For those who oppose the Russian invasion and want to see Ukraine prevail as a sovereign and democratic country, it is clear that Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, fully favors the Russians. He cannot be trusted to lead these negotiations. Would a Russian paid agent do less than he? He should be fired. Now, for those who haven't followed this, I know there's a lot. We're looking at essentially a foreign policy money laundering scheme where Russia comes up with a 22-point peace plan that helps Russia. Steve Witkoff, who is Donald Trump's special envoy and part of the Trump administration, and last time I checked, Allison, they should be working for the United States of America, correct? Allegedly?
Yeah, that's
Allegedly.
the idea. That's the idea. Yeah.
Allegedly. Steve Witkoff is then coaching Russia on how to talk to Donald Trump about pitching their 22-point peace plan.
Did he
And he
take the Epstein course on how to talk to Russia about Donald Trump? Or
like literally flattering them. And then through Whitcoff, they then bring in the 22-point peace plan to the Trump administration last week. Trump says, oh, look at that 22-point peace plan. And then guess who Trump is sending to Moscow to talk to Putin about his 22-point peace plan? Anyone want to take a guess? Wait for it. Steve Witkoff. And like Allison said, the 5-minute phone call with the Russian envoy was leaked yesterday by Bloomberg. It is really damning. It is really shameful. I would say it's straight up quasi treasonous behavior. And 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 because I keep the receipts, Steve Witkoff and his son, much like Jared Kushner, Allison, they've gotten a $1.5 billion investment from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states.
Weird, right? So
Weird.
I can't wait to know who got this audio and leaked it to Bloomberg. I think it's a good guy. I think they want to blow this up, because how is Steve Witkoff going to now, with this audio out there, going to go and talk to Volodymyr Zelensky like with a straight face? That is going to be so awkward. So that's
Well,
why
he will. They're shameless, Allison. He will do it, but he has to come back home.
Well, that's why I put my tinfoil hat on, is because that's who I think leaked it was, and that's the kids leave this sticker on, right?
I don't know. I'm a broken middle-aged man who shops at Costco, but I think the kids. Anyone who's cool and hip with the kids, please answer our question. I don't
I
know.
still say sus, so I don't know.
Mid sus. Sus apparently is 2022. I think now they're at mid.
But Witkoff has lost his riz.
Yeah, he has definitely lost his riz, and he's definitely both sus, cringe, and mid. Speaking about, though, the internal fights. Now, all of this is adding up. He can't escape Epstein. He can't escape the economy. He's negative double digits on the economy, negative 35 on Epstein. All the polls have come on the past 2 weeks. Trump is sinking across the board. Overreach. Negative double points on immigration. Lowest point favorability in his second administration. And
General ballot, 14 points for Democrats.
General ballot has now gone up. Republicans, I'm sure you saw that Axios story, are now turning on each other after Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. Now they're threatening to resign. There's more infighting. They have no faith in Mike Johnson. This was all done because Donald Trump went against Marjorie Taylor Greene, called her a traitor, also went against Massey. The leopards eating faces moment of accountability, Allison.
Yeah, well, like I said, when you base everything on propaganda and lies and smoke and mirrors, and it'll fall apart like what did my dad used to say? A sack of wet mice. It's there's nowhere to go when you get to the bottom of things, and that's why this administration hates the judiciary so much, is because that's what the judiciary does. It gets to the bottom of things, and if you lie to them, they can bring contempt proceedings. And while nobody's going to go to jail, and you might get fined, you might get Rule 11 sanctions, people could be disbarred. That's the point. Isn't like, I wish everybody would stop with like feeling like the only way to win is to have all these people underneath a prison. Right now, getting the information out to do political damage is extremely valuable, especially going into midterm election. And, back in the Mueller days is when I stopped thinking that anybody was going to, tackle and shackle Donald Trump and put him in prison, because our institutions aren't there to save us. We are here to save them.
Yep.
And, chapter 2 in On Tyranny is defend institutions. They don't defend themselves, right? We are the biggest check on executive power. So I think that while it is frustrating to watch people like Bolsonaro and the South Korea guy like go to prison and get their comeuppance, and we don't have that here because we don't have a functioning Supreme Court. That's been taken over by the oligarchs as well. There still is value in getting the truth out to the American people. And that's why I really value you, Waj, because when it does come out, you blast it as loud as you can. And that's why everybody who's here that's listening, when they learn about it, whether it's on your shows or my shows, they go out and tell other people about it who might not have known otherwise. And so that truth is really important, at least politically. Yes, do I want them in prison? Do I wish we had a functioning Supreme Court? Absolutely. We just don't. But we do have to remember that there are wins to be had, and that it's important that we talk about those so that we can expose the propaganda and smoke and mirrors and lies of this administration. Hopefully, when we get the House back, and maybe even the Senate too, we'll be able to have some hearings and drag these people in unmasked and force them to answer questions under oath. They'll defy those subpoenas, but at least we'll have the subpoena power. That's what's important about this political information, is it can help us get that power back just a little bit so that we can try to hold some of these people accountable, at least publicly, if not legally.
Allison, this just came out that the Justice Department is asking for permission to release Epstein files as FBI race to complete redactions. Apparently, Aaron Parnas has broken that.
We have a major development in the fight to get the...
Wait, he said, we have a major development concerning the Epstein files. I just received a filing from the Justice Department where it is seeking judicial approval to publicly release a wide array of evidence gathered in the federal investigations of Epstein and Maxwell, marking a significant step forward, complying with the federal transparency mandate. The move could open a trove of long sealed records that have remained out for public view for years. In a letter submitted Wednesday, the judge overseeing Maxwell's now closed criminal case, federal prosecutors asked the court to lift a protective order that previously barred the public dissemination of sensitive material.
No. Yeah, no. That's a little bit overblown there. What that is that was a couple days ago, the Justice Department. Remember when they went to the court and said, hey, release those transcripts from the grand jury, and the court was like, no, and that you're dumb for asking, and this is all you're doing is trying to get us to say no so that you can say that the court wouldn't allow you to release the Epstein files. These aren't the Epstein files. These aren't the 300,000 pages that the DOJ and the FBI has. This is 76 pages of one FBI guy testifying in the Maxwell case. That's all this is. And it's not, and all it is it's going to be about Ghislaine Maxwell, or it's going to be about Jeffrey Epstein. There's nothing in there worth getting excited about. It's just, and I'm worried that the Department of Justice is again trying to pass this off as trying to release. Watch Pamela Joe come back and say, hey, remember when we filed and the court said no? After the law passed, we filed again and the court said no again. So we tried to release the Epstein files and that has nothing to do. That is a 76-page testimony from one FBI guy in 2019.
All right, that makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense, and it tracks, and they're trying to slow walk in, and they're trying to gaslight us, and what we want. And I think with the Epstein files, folks, as we wrap this up, and different ways of accountability, he can't escape it. I think it's so soaked in now. So many people, even like me, are like, yo, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but now I believe in conspiracies, and this looks like a cover-up until all of this information is out, until we not just get Donald Trump's and what he allegedly did or didn't do, but we get all these other people, Leon Black, Leslie Wexner, Glenn Dubin, allegedly, Ehud Barak, allegedly, right? J.P. Morgan, Israel, Deutsche Bank, Russia, more and more transparency. He's stuck. This is his major Achilles cankel. The economy is another major Achilles cankel. Accountability is also done through economic boycotts. Folks, they're feeling it right now. I'm telling you, this Black Friday, I don't think it's going to bring smiles to the faces of a lot of the corporate cronies of Trump who laid out the red carpet for him. We saw the economic boycott help bring Jimmy Kimmel back. We also saw economic.
Target lost 5% on back to school week.
The CEO is gone. The CEO got kicked out a couple of months ago after 11 years. He got replaced because we did an economic buy-in to Costco that said, we're not stupid. We know our base is multicultural. We used to shop at Target all the time. I got memories at Target. I'm a brown guy. We have not gone to Target for a year. I know I'm not the only one. How dumb could you be, Target? How dumb could you be? So economic boycotts, voting. People voting still matters. We saw the tsunami. We saw Mamdani's win. We saw in the Supreme Court election cases of Pennsylvania. We saw it in Wisconsin. We tried to bring receipts where Elon Musk gave over $20 million. Failed, hugely failed by double digits. So you got voting, coming up. You got the
Yeah,
full.
and if you can do some asynchronous phone banking for Tennessee 7 on December 2nd, Trump won that district by 20 points, but we gained 30 points down in Florida 1 and Florida 6. It's a flippable seat, I think. And if it ever is, if any of these seats are ever flippable, including Marjorie Taylor Greene's, it's this year.
It's this year. Folks, this is me. I'm speaking for myself. I believe we have a generational opportunity. I'm 45 years old. I've seen some things in life. These don't come around often. There is a simmering rage that has exploded. The veil has been lifted. The emperor is without clothes. People have
This is our
seen.
chance to reform our party and win back the Congress.
This is
It's
not
huge.
just the party. Going back to Allison's earlier points, this is institutions don't reform themselves. It's the people. We can reform the institutions. We can reform the party. We can reform the Supreme Court. Like, this is the New Deal moment. Like, literally, this is it. I feel in my bones. And every single opportunity we've had in my life, those who are more wedded to, if you will, restoration other than reformation, the moderates that MLK wrote about way back in the 60s, it's a fight right now. It's between them and the majority, but I think they're misreading the moment, just like they misread Mamdani. And I feel like this righteous rage has united so many of us who are like, you know what? I've heard from so many people, Allison, who are like, I'm a senior, I'm an elder, I was a kind of centrist. F that. No, we need like straight up reform. There's no way I marched in the 60s for this shit. So and then you got the young energy. So I think we come
And
together.
please don't be discouraged by the fact that it's going to take more than one election cycle.
Culling. We've always talked about the culling. Tell them about the culling effect, Allison, real quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason that Senate races are staggered. It's so that we don't see a complete removal of an entire, party at once. And so it's going to take, like, Schumer's not up this midterm, for example. It's going to take a couple of election cycles. Now, it's going to start with a bang in 2026, but we can't let that fizzle out like we did in 2018.
Exactly.
We can't be like, oh, that's it. We only got 40 seats. I wanted 60. I'm not going to participate in politics anymore. We have to start it off with a bang and keep our foot on the gas, our feet on the gases, because it's going to take 2-3 election cycles to get the party that we want in place. And our system is designed to work slowly like that. It's frustrating, but it's what separates us from autocracies.
And it can happen in 2 elections, 2026 and 2028. You're talking about massive reform, 2026, 2028, you got to put the pressure on all of them. They're feeling it. Democrats, Republicans, the institutions, the financial institutions, all of them. We have the numbers and we have the righteous rage. And folks,
you gotta go. You're going to be late.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, I got to go. We'll hold them accountable. Before I go, Allison, because tomorrow is Thanksgiving, what are you, if anything, grateful for?
I'm grateful for this community of listeners and followers, and it's my family. I never feel alone anymore, and I am unable to be gaslit because of it. So I'm thankful for everybody here, and I will be putting out podcasts over the holiday weekend.
Of course you will.
It's not going to be any breaks there. But I just want to thank everybody. Super grateful for you for caring about these details, these wonky details that matter, for not speaking in bumper stickers all the time, and for understanding nuance and truth and how important it is. And that's what I'm extremely thankful for.
I'm thankful for Allison Gill. She is a one-woman machine. Having gotten to know her a little bit more over the past year, she always works. She cares deeply. She's super smart, super nerdy, does all the work. And I feel kind of bad, but not really, because if I know I need to talk to someone in a pinch, even on a Saturday, I text her, and about 9 out of 10 times, she says yes. And I feel like Ben Affleck's character in Good Will Hunting, where I want to go knock on the door one day and she's gone, and I realize, like, oh, Allison's left. She's in Hawaii, or she's involved relaxing. and I go, okay. And then I come back, and then Casey Affleck's character is like, I got shotgun. But Allison is, so I'm grateful for Allison and all the work she does. And like me, she has kept everything for free. I appreciate it. She could and should probably put up a paywall, but she chooses not to, folks. And I'm also grateful for the community of the Breakdown and also the Left Hook. Very smart, informed, compassionate people. And now that Allison has told me that she'll be working on Saturday and Sunday, even though I'm supposed to get on a plane and leave in literally like I have 17 minutes to pray, wash my face, pack, and rally my kids. I will. But I'm a masochist. I like talking about this stuff because I don't want us to leave disheartened. I want us to realize that the story isn't over yet, folks. There's more of us than there are of them. And we have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting a good fight. And this is a good fight. We're fighting against fascism. This is an honorable,
It's the best fight.
fight. This is a way to, if you go down in this fight, it's a good way to go down. And I was thinking about this. I want my kids to say, you know, my Baba went against the world's worst vulgarians, the most corrupt people, hate mongers, and he spent his time fighting them. I'm like, I'd feel proud if my kids felt proud about that. So Allison's in this fight. Mueller, she wrote. And if I may, Allison, I hope you don't mind. Ground News is a partner with the Left Hook, and they've offered 40% off for your viewers and my viewers. I get no money off this. Ground News support, like a lot of friends, IHIP, Zateo, Qasim Rashid. It's a really great aggregator and auditor of the news. If you haven't used it, I highly recommend it. They've given 40% off. I just put it up right there. Go there, you get 40% off. And the reason why I like it is if you want a news story, they'll give you all of the world's news stories in one shot, but they'll also audit it. They'll tell you if it's right or left. They'll tell you if it's factual. And also, they tell you who owns that news company. So I found them to be a really good partner, and hopefully they'll partner with Allison if they haven't partnered with her already. They reached out to me, but it's 40% off, so I'm sharing it off with you guys and also Allison's viewers who are watching. 40% off, take it. I don't get any money off it. That money goes to you. And folks, I thank you all for watching. Please be kind, be informed, take care of yourselves. Allison, are you taking tomorrow off at least?
No,
No, why?
because the show must go on.
No, Allison, make Allison take tomorrow off, everyone. Please, please, please. But if not, well, okay, listen.
I am having an incredible dinner with my chosen fam, and like it's going to be amazing. And I'm taking the afternoon off. How about that?
No, still not good enough. However, now that I know that Allison might be working tomorrow, that's bad news for me because I might actually then call Allison in the afternoon because I might be sitting there in Orlando itching. So if you get a text, listen, ignore my text tomorrow afternoon, Allison. I will not be offended. But Allison, enjoy. You do fantastic work. Everyone, go subscribe right now to The Breakdown. How can people shamelessly support you, Allison?
Just, subscribe. It's free to subscribe to The Breakdown. If you have the means, become a paid subscriber, support what we do. But that's it. Just being here, listening, participating in all of this is all I ever could ask for. So thank you.
And also talk to him about the Midas Touch videos real quick.
Okay, that's Sunday at noon on the Midas Touch Live channel. I always put the links up over on my Blue Sky. You can follow me at Mueller, She Wrote. And then I put the links to the shows up here at The Breakdown at MuellerSheWrote.com. If you miss them live, you can always watch them, rewatch them. So that's...
And then finally, Daily Beans. Tell them about Daily Beans.
Oh, Daily Beans. That is a daily news podcast every weekday morning. News that's bearable. We make it bearable by making it swearable because we cuss about it, and you get all the news that you need without having to listen to Ken Jennings. It's fantastic.
I have to literally run. I have 13 minutes, but Allison was so terrible at promoting herself that I had to spend the extra 3 minutes. All right. Wish me well luck. 13 minutes to pack, gather the kids, and go to the airport. I'll make it happen.
Faith in you.
Bye. Enjoy tomorrow. Take tomorrow off, Allison.